Code enforcement matters. We have an agenda with old business and new business. What I'd like to do, given that we have participants in the audience, if you could let me know what case you are here for today, and what I'd like to do is call those cases first, just in terms of order of business, so that you all don't have to needlessly wait if there's nobody here on a case. So I'll start with this couple here. What case are you here on today?
The very first case. Diane Sherwin, 283.
Okay. And then the gentleman behind them, which case are you here on today in the white shirt?
He's the three younger are interns. They're
Okay.
just witness.
Okay, great. And then the gentleman in the blue shirt?
There's the one on McCray Street, 180 McCray Street.
That would be case 2021-99, where the owner is Bianca Washington.
Yes.
Sir, in the striped shirt. You're also here on behalf of Bianca Washington.
418 Southeast Evergreen Drive.
He is here to speak again. That's the first one under new business. Case number 2187, 418 Southeast Evergreen. We would like to talk to Mr. Young prior to that case. He has concerns that he wants to go over with you before we go into the case.
Okay, so what we'll do in terms of our agenda is we'll call case 2018-283 under old business first, with the owner, Diane Sherwin. And then we will move on to new business, including discussing IPMC 109.1. And then we'll move to case number 2187 with property located at 418 Southeast Evergreen. And then we'll move to case number 2021-99 with the owner of Bianca Washington. And then we'll take up the rest of the cases in order. For those of you here today to testify for a case or speak to any case, I'm going to go ahead and administer an oath now for all of the cases, so we don't have to redo it each time. So if you could, if you're going to speak to a case, raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do. Amen.
Thank you. All right, so our first case under old business 2018-283, I'll ask the city to speak to the case in terms of notice, just status of the case, and the city's position and the remedy requested.
The case before you, we heard in May, and the the owner of the property came in after the hearing, and we had issued an order. She's here to protest that order. She is still not in compliance. The property was photographed today, July 8th, 2018. The bricks are piled, covered in foliage, which is the main concern of the complaint for the neighbors. It's harboring snakes and pests. There's no change in a good way. It continues to deteriorate. And we would like to move forward with the previous finding of proceeding with our lien and possible foreclosure. Here's a front picture. Miss Sherwin, you can come up to the podium.
Good morning, good afternoon. If you just give me one moment here to look at the file.
Mail went out, green certified, came back, signed.
Ms. Jones, I don't appear to have an order in the file.
We did not get that order because it's a lien order that we sent to you last week. So basically it was tabled because we didn't have the forms for you.
Okay. Okay, so just in terms of procedural history, the last written order that was issued in this case, I believe, was by the previous special magistrate.
Yes, it was.
And that would have been October 17th, 2019.
Correct.
Okay. And then the case was before me, where the city had requested a lien.
Correct.
And what date was that?
That was in May, and that would have been, I'm sorry, May 13th, 2013.
I'm sorry, what year was that?
I'm sorry, 2021. Something
Okay.
else.
Okay, thank you. I'm happy to hear your position, Ms. Sherwin, and if you could just state your name for the record.
Diane Sherwin. These brick have been a problem ever since I purchased them. They are for landscape purposes only, and that was the ruling last time I was here, that they are landscape material, they are not building materials. And they're going to be used for walkways and patios. Several things have transpired since the last time I was here, and due to the property being sold, even though I had it under contract with down payment, which is a lawsuit that is going to happen, but not right now, I still don't even have my down payment money back. They refused to even give it back, but they sold it to a relative, and the brick were moved from that property and piled onto my property. And that's why the weeds are growing up, because I think it was 3 or 4 months ago, they moved those and just piled them up with dirt, and that made the weeds grow. The piles are going to be moved shortly. Another reason why the brick hadn't been used yet is because when COVID hit, the lender shut down for a year, and we weren't able to get our loan finished because we're going to do extensive remodeling to this house. So with the land being sold out from underneath me next door, I had to redo the plans, and they were extensive. And they're just being finished up now so that I can get the loan in place, so that the brick are going to be moved to the back property while the house is being built, because they are in the way of the home construction, because the home is going to extend to where the brick are. So they will be moved, they will be stacked within, I'd say, the next 2 months. But I noticed because of all the rain we've had, the weeds are definitely growing up high. And as soon as it stops, we are going to be spraying them and getting them down. But the brick are to be moved and used, but we can't use them and do sidewalks and walkways and patios until the house is done because of heavy equipment that will be brought in for removing the roof trusses and all different kinds of stuff. So obviously landscaping is one of the last things that take place in home construction. But my standing is what was ruled last time is that those brick are landscape materials.
Ms. Sherwin, in terms of the property being sold, are you referring to a parcel next to
Yes,
the property that's at issue
the
today?
2 acres next to it.
And I did review the previous order that was issued October 17th, 2019. And in that order, you were required to clean up the property within 180 days of the hearing. So
Clean it up, you mean?
you
Cut the weeds.
use the brick,
Which
cut the
we did.
weeds, use the bricks for the landscaping purposes. So that was by April 2020. We're a bit over now, a year later.
I understand. That was not my understanding of that ruling, because in 180 days, there was no way we would have had the home completed. We are moving, I meanwhile have purchased the property in another piece in the back, and we are going to be moving those brick to that area until they are used.
Ms. Markman, when that order was issued, the bricks were supposed to be put on pallets and then used within that 6 months, and anything from that removed. They were supposed to be used for pathways.
Right.
But moving them to the back is not going to solve this issue, and the city would be against that because of the debris that gathers around it and the snakes and the habitats of pests.
There are no snakes. Honestly, there are none.
Ms. Sherwin, I'll show you a picture that Ms. Jones handed me. Could you just confirm for me that that's a picture, an accurate picture of the property?
Just look here, and that's it, the dirt pile with them in those weeds. And I've not been able to do that. It will be done shortly. And they will be put on pallets. We did get the pallets and have the pallets right there to get the work done.
Could you go back to the podium? We have to hear you on microphone. That's okay.
The meeting is recorded. It's okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Sherwin, you mentioned that you have plans to move the bricks to another piece of property that you purchased. How much time would you need to clean up this property? So by clean up, meaning removing the bricks and cutting down the weeds.
We can get the weeds done pretty soon.
What about the bricks?
The brick, I would say 60 days to get the brick on pallets, or 90 days even to get the bricks on pallets and move the pallets to the back.
Ms. Marchman, the city would be opposed to that because 60 days ago, Ms. Sherwin was here and we restated this issue to her. And 60 days, nothing occurred. I'm not sure what another 60 days would do. And as far as moving it, the property she's speaking of is right behind this property, and it's right next to the area that is being told to us that snakes are coming from. And it's just moving one problem to another spot when this problem should have been removed a year ago.
When I pulled the weeds out of all those brick, at least 8 months ago, so a year ago, I was all over those brick piles before I got hurt, and there's no squirrels or rats or snakes or anything. This lady has a phobia for snakes. She won't even go in her backyard. There are no snakes. I can guarantee you that.
Unfortunately, you live outside the floodplain and you cannot guarantee there's no snakes. There's snakes everywhere in that area.
Yeah.
And the most dangerous kind, water moccasins. Mr. Young, did you have anything to add to this?
Just that under the new building code that went into effect January 1st of this year, landscaping materials like walkways, pathways, driveways and such do fall under the codes.
Okay, well, we'll get this taken care of. I wasn't aware of that.
She would need to get that permitted, correct?
Yes,
You need to build the walkway,
yes.
of course, definitely.
Ms. Sherwin, at this point, an order was already issued by the previous special magistrate finding the property to be in violation. Today, and that was issued back in 2019. Today, the city is just simply seeking an order imposing an administrative fine, I think at this point. I mean, that's what was sent to me.
Correct.
And so it's simply essentially a procedural order because the previous magistrate's already found the violation, has already issued a fine accruing on the 181st day following your failure to comply with the previous order. So at this point, I don't see that there's anything I can do since the issue hasn't been corrected other than allow the city to have the fine that's already been awarded.
Please give me 60 days to get those brick on pallets, please, and I will make sure it takes.
The city's opposed that, and you haven't made any progress over period of time, including since the May meeting. And so what I'll do is I'll go ahead and issue the order, the fine requested by the city because it's already been done at this point, and the property's still not in compliance. Certainly, that doesn't mean that you can't go ahead and clean up the property. And then, Ms. Jones, what would be her options at that point with respect to the fine?
I would certainly ask you to clean it up, because what can happen is you apply for forgiveness once it's in compliance. And that's a process that goes before the city council. The faster you do it, the better it is for you and the less lien you're likely to be exposed to.
I understand. I will get it taken care
And once you do come into compliance, you call me and we inspect it, and then we present you with that paper for the lien forgiveness request. It's called the amnesty request that went into place about 6 months ago.
So at this point, as I mentioned, I'm going to issue an order imposing an administrative fine as requested by the city, just based on the prior order dated October 17th, 2019. And certainly, Ms. Sherwin, if you clean up the property and you can seek relief from the city according to its regular process to have that fine forgiven.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How much is the fine?
We could get that information to you. I can mail you that.
Thank you.
Do you recall what it was on a daily basis?
It was, I actually have the order pulled up, $25 since the 181st day.
$25 a day
Yeah.
since the 181st day.
Actually, I'm sorry, it's the 91st day. It was the 91st day, and then at 181, it can become a lien on the property. So it's a year and a half or more at $25 a day.
Wasn't that requested on this year?
Ma'am?
Wasn't that requested this year, not the lien this year, not 2 years ago?
The order's from 2 years ago.
So you went back to that date?
The 81st day is when her order, or 91st day is when her order went into lien status where we could impose a fine.
Could you mail me copies of that order, please?
You can actually go to the courthouse and get a copy of it under the My Florida Records, or you can even look it up online.
Because it was my understanding that that order was determined that at that time it was landscape material.
It doesn't matter. What it was issued under was sanitation and a public nuisance.
Ms. Sherwin, what is a good mailing address for you?
I'm sorry,
What is a good mailing address for you?
the 954.
I will mail you the order as well as what the lien is as of today, but it keeps accruing 25 extra
We'll
dollars
get it
today.
taken care of.
Okay.
I mean, our public hearing right now. Can I give you?
Mr. Young,
I will.
it's your turn.
Don't even hear the other two.
No, you need to speak about the imminent danger.
Oh, okay, okay.
I keep you straight.
Mr. Young, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Dave Young, Growth Management. Yes, ma'am, what we wanted to bring up today was the International Property Maintenance Code. The edition that we have adopted is the 2018. And what we have is section 109 of emergency measures, and also section 108, unsafe structures and equipment, because we're running into issues where we actually have a house that still had power, water connected, nobody in it. It was I guess the bills are being paid automatic draft out of their checking account.
The owners aren't in it, but.
Yes, there's nobody living in it. The roof has caved in.
But vagrants were in it.
And vagrants are inside of it. We ordered our Public Works Department to install a fence around it to try to keep people out due to the high cost of plywood to try to board up the windows and doors. So we're running into it more and more. And we wanted to bring it to your attention that we're using some of these emergency measures to try to correct some of these issues.
Were you going to bring those to her or use those prior to coming to her?
We're using them prior to coming to you because of the danger.
Mr. Young, you mentioned that this code, the 2018 version, was adopted by the city. Is that adopted by ordinance?
Yes, ma'am, it's adopted by ordinance.
Do you have a reference to where it's adopted? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what we wanted to bring to your attention today as to some of the instances we're running into right now that are extremely hazardous to anybody that walks.
Okay.
We're not doing demolition without coming through you, but we are trying to get the buildings secured in a way that people won't be freely coming in and out of when they're structurally unsound.
They're also place guarded with the warning structure information.
We placarded it with uninhabitable, no occupancy, no trespassing. These are only emergency measures when the building is structurally unsafe for anybody to be going in and out of.
And we brought this to your attention because of case 2187, which is 418 Southeast Evergreen. That property is owned by Wani Lee Trust. This was an emergency that was called into Mr. Young. We went on site and found the roof was collapsed, the structure's unsafe. The house just was abandoned. The woman's car was abandoned. There's evidence that you can look through the front door that the structure has no roof in some areas. The carports of the structure are falling apart. We sent certified mail to the owner and it came back and unclaimed. We also posted the structure and posted City Hall. And we have not gotten any information from the owner. We also asked the water department and the electric department to shut off services. The structure was cited for 2018-3012 responsibility, 2018-301 vacant structures, 2118-302 weeds. The motor vehicle, which is 302, imminent danger 109, 108.5, 108.1, 108.11, and 110.1, which are all unsafe, dangerous structures and requesting general demolition. But we would ask that within 30 days of this order, if the owner has not torn the structure down, that the city goes in and demolishes the structure, bills the owner, and if the bill is not paid in 30 days, that the bill would then become a lien onto the property and possible city foreclosure at some point.
Okay, so we've moved on to case 2187.
Yes.
Mr. Young
I
has
wanted him to be up there when we said this.
concluded his, have you concluded your
But
remarks?
he's got some more stuff to say about
Okay.
this.
Ms. Jones, could you just tell me about notice for
Sure.
this case?
The case went out as a notice of warning notice due to the volatile situation on 5/28/2012. It was returned mail and the property was posted on June 17th. City Hall was also posted on June 17th per Florida Statute 162. We went back today and observed that the violations are still there. The car is still there. The overgrowth of the trees prohibit you from seeing the decline of the roof, but the original pictures that we took show the picture here. This is collapsed here. And the door was open when Mr. Young and I visited, and that looks like a door in that picture, but that's actually the ceiling has collapsed. And then this carport structure is collapsed. And we posted the notice and on City Hall, and this has also been placarded as of 5/28/2012.
Have you had any communications with anybody, property owner or anybody living at the property?
No, from what we understand, this was an elderly lady and she basically just disappeared one day within the last few months. We don't know if she had COVID. We did check obituaries, did not find anything there. We just went through the normal procedure of 162 posting legally so that we notify the public as well as the owner.
Has anybody from the city inspected the inside of the property?
We cannot go in without the owner's permission. Mr. Young has gone to the door.
We
Have we
have
s-
requested wellness checks just to make sure that the individual's not inside the home
Right.
deceased. The police won't even go in because of the condition of the house.
Neighbors have told us that during the night, people go in and out.
But without getting a court order, we cannot enter the house.
And law enforcement says they will not go in?
They will not go in because it's unsafe.
Mr. Leskowitz would like to speak when you are ready.
1 minute, just let me see if I have any other questions for the city.
You didn't have any different recommendation?
And Ms. Janice, just repeat for me what it is you're requesting.
Due to the safety violations and the public safety, we're asking that within 30 days, if the owner does not demolish the structure, the 30 days from your order being filed, that the city go ahead and destroy the structure and raise the property. The bill will be sent to the owner, and if not paid within additional 30 days, it should become a lien on that property, and the city could close. The city has gone on the property, to the front exterior of the property. There was some trees that would have hurt somebody during this last storm. The city did go ahead and cut those limbs off those trees to prevent anybody from getting harmed.
Mr. Young, anything else?
No, ma'am, that's it.
Would you like to speak to this case?
Yes, my name is Jerome Bleskowitz, and my wife and I live at 787 Southeast Evergreen Drive. It's about 3 blocks further up the street from where this house is located.
Would you please spell your last name?
L-E-S-Z as in zebra, K-I-E-W-I, C as in Charlie, Z as in zebra again. We've lived there for the past 14 years in our home. Go by this residence many times a day. And we, plus our neighbors, have been cognizant of the woman who lived there, the elderly woman who lived there. And she did sort of take care of the place, but not like we would be taking care of our homes. The last time her car was moved was in October of last year. So it's been sitting where it is now since October. She used to take it to go get groceries and food. And the damage to the roof occurred in a storm late last summer before October. And it broke the roof in, and the neighbors immediately next to her and across the street from her volunteered to go up there and help her patch it, but she declined. She's the kind of woman who seems to be very eccentric and not liking to have conversations with people. So we always left her alone, but now it's come to the point where something has to be done. Lord, I hope she's not in the building deceased. That would be really a terrible thing. But I need the city to do what the city's empowered to do, to fix the problem one way or the other. Either get the house fixed, repaired, and put back out there for occupancy, or to go the direction she's proposing to go.
Thank you. When was the last time you saw the woman who lived there?
I saw her probably in August of last year, out in front. I don't go on her property, have no need to go on her property. But she used to plant corn in the front yard, and she had some plants there she took care of. You'd see her out there occasionally tending to that gardening out there. And her car was parked in different positions every time she brought it back and we're going shopping. And like I said, it hasn't been moved since October of last year. It's got pollen on it from last fall and from this spring. So we're concerned. We don't know what happened to her. Nobody knows what happened to her. If she's deceased and in the house, or if she is just simply left or deceased somewhere else. We were really surprised when we were told that the power and water were still on. We didn't understand that, why that's the case or who's paying for it. But apparently there was a mechanism set up so that it is getting paid. And it certainly would be to the benefit to shut the power off so there's no fire hazard to that building as well.
How do you know that the power and water is still on?
The police, when they did the wellness check, I was there as well when I saw the police cars come. And they made a statement that the water and the power were on.
When was that?
About a month ago.
About a month ago.
Oh, no, it was before 5/28. It was probably in May.
It could have been
Yeah,
in May.
I
Could have
spoke
been
to
in,
you, I think, the third week of May.
yeah, I don't even
Right
remember. It's
when
been
I
a
went.
while back that, I came and initiated the process. And And the police came out the very same day that I came in and talked to you about it. You called them and they went out there to look at it, so.
And the police refused to go inside?
Yeah, I didn't know that they refused to go inside. I didn't question where they were and what they did when they were there, but they did say the water and the power were on.
At that time, they did go in and they didn't find anything in there. It was the second time when the neighbor across the street had asked for them to go in and they didn't go in.
Okay, well, I didn't know that, but that's
But we have ordered the water and the
Yeah,
electric to be off.
certainly the electric. And again, whatever the city is empowered to do, we would like done. It's a fairly good neighborhood, and this is a rather different situation at that property, and it's gotten overgrown, and the property is deteriorated, and it just needs to change for the benefit of all the people who pay property taxes along the street there, including myself.
I did obtain her customer service application. I called the phone number, it was no longer working. There was no other phone numbers, no other people. I did find a document saying that she had a power of attorney at one time, but this was back in the 90s, and I did send a letter to that gentleman, and that letter came back returned.
Well, the only time we've seen her is in the neighborhood is when she's been out in front doing some work in the front yard. She had corn growing in there a couple of years ago, a couple of rows of corn. She doesn't talk to anyone. Nobody approaches her because she gets kind of strange, tells you to go away. So she's totally isolated. She doesn't talk. The neighbors don't get a chance to talk to her, except in the situation when they went over and offered to help fix the roof. And she just basically put them away at that point in time, said, no, I don't want to have anything to do with that. Don't come, don't bother me.
It's a bit difficult to tell from these photographs, but is it possible for the house to be, in your view, repaired, or is it just generally be demolished? I mean, it's hard for me to tell. I mean, I do see the roof falling in one part of the house.
Yeah, a tree limb fell on it and crushed it in the storm late last summer. And Lord knows, I don't know what the extent of the opening of the roof is and how much water has gotten in there every time it rained, like yesterday, for example. It's, you know, the amount of water, every time water gets in there is doing damage to everything. So it's hard to say. I can't make that judgment call without having personally seen it.
Does the city have any interest in having the option to repair the property and resell it?
I'm gonna give that to Mr. Young.
No, ma'am. We're not in the real estate business.
Okay.
Mr. Young did inspect the structure, and he is part of this procedure of the violations to issue the demolition because of the damage that was seen the day we went.
Yeah, as the building official for the city of Lake City, what I saw there, the house needs to be demolished. And that was just what I could see from the doors.
It's at least 50 years old,
Yeah.
part of the original development that took place in the late 60s, early 70s.
And this probably goes without saying, but I'm gonna say it anyway. If I order a demolition, presumably the city will go into the house and inspect inside
Yes.
before
Yes.
any demolition?
Yes,
Yes.
as safely as possibly that we can go in.
That gives us the authority to go in. Because we have to survey it at that point then.
And the last thing I have to say is I'm pleased the city's moving forward on this.
Anything else with respect to this case?
No, ma'am.
Great, I will go ahead and, based on what I've heard today, order that the property come into compliance by demolition of the structure within 30 days. And if that's not done, the city can go ahead and demolish the property on its own accord and collect its costs in doing so. If the costs are not paid by the property owner, there'll be a lien on the property which the city can then foreclose upon. Right, the next case we'll call is case 2021-99 with the owner Bianca Washington. Let the city present first.
On 6/15/2021, we received a call that a structure that is zoned single-family residence, which means single-family only, was being used as a rooming house and the shed occupied as a home, and it was not rated as a home. There was also no 911 address on the house. Upon arriving at the structure, I did find broken windows. I was greeted by a tenant who let me know that there was at least 8 rooms that had been rented. And when the door was open, I could see that someone had put up walls to create rooms, and there was numbers on the doors of the rooms. When I spoke to the owner, she also confirmed that it was a rooming house. There's pictures of the doors and the walls that were put up without permits. The tenant did state that there's no exit lights, no fire procedure, no fire sprinklers or exhaust for the residents. I did speak to the owner on 6/17 and advised her that this had to be, this activity had to cease immediately and that the tenants had to be removed, and that the structure, which is the shed, could only be used for storage. The property was cited for 22-181 purpose, 22-153 purpose, 22-173 applicability, and 22-155 maintenance, which is all from the city's permitting / growth maintenance code. The International Property Code violations were 301-2 responsibility, which means the owner has responsible for these repairs. 304-1 general of the structure. 304-18-2 windows. 305-1.1 unsafe conditions. 402-1 habitable spaces. 404-4 bedroom and living room requirements. 2018-502 rooming house. 304-3 premises identification, and city ordinance section 22-191 public nuisance. Now, the other thing with this structure, being a single family resident, it was gaining traffic, which is not allowable in a residential district. The property can have the vehicles of the owners, but is restricted to that and not ongoing incoming and outgoing traffic.
Students, you mentioned a number of times that you spoke to the owner. Is that Miss Bianca Washington?
That was Miss Bianca Washington, and I spoke to her again this morning.
Is she, why isn't?
She did not tell me why she wasn't going to be here. Are you her father?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
In terms of Ms. Jones, the violation related to this house being in a single family zone, does the city have any particular definition with respect to single family uses?
Yes, our land development regulations clearly state that you cannot use a rooming house in a residential single family 3 district or any residential single district.
One second, sorry.
The mail did come back returned, but I did post the property and post City Hall. And I did issue photos for that as well. The property was posted June 17th as well as City Hall.
Okay, I have a number of photos in the materials. They're 54, 55, 56,
Yes.
57, 50. These are all photos of the subject property.
Yes, ma'am. Did not gain entry to the property, so therefore I can only give you that Photoshop from the door. There was electrical installed, walls installed, doors installed, overcrowding. No permits were obtained.
I was just looking to see, is there a violation in the notice of violation related to the broken windows?
It is 2018 304 18.2.
Anything else from the city?
None at this time.
Would you please state your name for the record?
Charles Washington.
Mr. Washington, do you represent Ms. Bianca Washington, the owner?
Yes.
And what do you have to say to the city's presentation? Or what's your response?
My response is that everything has been taken care of. Except the windows. The windows just came in Wednesday.
And when you say everything has been taken care of, what do you mean?
You know, all the tenants is gone and the walls is down.
Ms. Jones, when was the last time that you went out to inspect the property?
I inspected today. No one was there when I was, or no one came to the door when I was there. But with the walls being removed and the windows, permits are needed, and that is also in the historic district. So that windows, before you can install them, you have to get a certificate of appropriateness through our historical department, which we can help you obtain that.
Mr. Washington, how long do you need to install or obtain a permit and the certificate of appropriateness? Maybe Ms. Jones can tell us how long that will take.
That'll take probably 30 days, but the city would like to ask you a one-time $250 fine for the violations and the life safety issues that occurred. And I believe there was another gentleman that wanted to speak to you on this case.
Okay, Mr. Washington, Ms. Jones has said that it would take about 30 days in order for you to get the permit and certificate of appropriateness for the windows. Once you've had the opportunity to obtain the permit and the certificate, about how long do you think it would take to install the windows?
It just window pane, so I guess about 30 minutes.
Unfortunately, this is, Ms. Washington doesn't live in this home and you're not the owner. An actual contractor has to provide the permit. They have to do the work and they have to provide the scope of work of everything that's been done so that Mr. Young can inspect it per our city code.
To put window panes in?
All the work you've done, as well as the windows, correct? You can ask Mr. Young anything you like, he's over here.
Mr. Washington, about how much time do you think you would need in order to have the property brought into compliance with the city's code?
Like I say, I just need to go through procedure with them, about the windows. Like I say, everything else is done to me.
Okay.
The wall was nothing, it just 2x4, just some panel. No wires and stuff like that was ran.
Okay.
I don't know where she get that from.
Was there somebody else here that wanted to, do you have anything else to say with respect to this case?
Oh, no, ma'am, fine.
Okay. And is there somebody else here that wants to speak to
Before
this
he
case?
steps down, Mr. Young, did you have anything to say about the permitting, about the walls and such?
Well, we would have to inspect the home before I can give you an answer as to, what you're gonna be required to do.
Okay, just give me a date, time, when I can be there.
Do you want him to go downstairs and get the virtual inspection sheet, or do you want to make a physical inspection?
I would have to make a physical inspection
Okay.
of that. But you'll make sure that Ms. Bev has your correct phone number
Okay.
before I
You
can
want
get
to step
ahold
up
of
here,
her.
I'll get it from you. That way you don't broadcast it. Just drop it right there. I know, I don't call myself either. All right. The city would be agreeable to 45 days, if that's agreeable to you, so that we can get this all taken care of and get this home back to it needs to be.
I didn't.
45 days? Would that be agreeable for you?
45?
I mean, I think that that's a little aggressive. I mean, if it's gonna take 30 days to
The
get
reason
pull
I
the permit.
say that is because he does have to get a contractor, and we did just have a storm that caused a lot of damage. He's on the back of that, so it's gonna probably take him 2 to 3 weeks to obtain a contractor. So that's why I'm trying to be fair and consistent.
Oh, I was just thinking he might need more time.
More time?
Than,
Okay,
yes, I'm
gotcha.
sorry, then 45 days. I was thinking
Okay, I took
60
it the
to
wrong way.
60 to 90 days, probably, because you have to pull the permits plus employ a contractor. And I think it's difficult right now to find contractors and get them to show up.
We're good with 60.
What date would you?
I will be giving you a call.
Okay.
Either this afternoon or tomorrow morning
Okay, so
to set up a time with you.
How about we bring the case back next month after Mr. Young has inspected? And we can table it and then go from there to see what progress has been made?
Okay. I think did we have somebody else that wanted
Yes.
to speak to this case though too?
Yes.
Okay. Did you have anything to add, sir?
Not a lot, but his daughter was there. She was a superb resident.
Can you come up to the microphone, please?
When Bianca was there, she was a first-class resident and native. But when she moved down with North Carolina, went to teaching school up there, and I began to rent the place, we were broken into 3 times by tenants in and out of that house. Had to call the police, had one of them arrested. I mean, it's just been terrible since the families stopped living in there, and you have this revolving door.
And sir, what is your name?
John Harrison,
And Mr. Harrison, do you live nearby?
right across the street, 148 Southeast St. John's.
And when's the last time you saw any tenants present at the property?
Yesterday, there was that one lady, Brenda, hanging around, I don't know. There was 2 or 3 in there that were good people. And I try to keep in touch with neighbors because of what happened at my house. I had to put the fence up around my place, and the police couldn't even get in when they shot a man over there at S&S. And he asked me why, and I told him. But anyway, I try to watch who's there to see if they're gonna be respectful of the people around them. But anyway,
Do you believe that
like you
there,
said, I think they're all out there. I saw her there yesterday. I don't know if she's still there. I don't have any reason to go over there because the people I knew are gone. And it's been quiet. But as far as y'all are doing a good job, God bless you. Make sure things are better.
Okay.
That's all I got.
Thank you.
So I would think, repeating what I said is, if Mr. Young inspects it, we table it and bring it back to you in 60 days.
Okay, so, Mr. Washington, just to be clear, you'll come back up, I'll explain to you. The city has offered to essentially continue this case to a hearing 60 days from now to give you a chance to pull permits and do work on the property, which means that I'm not going to issue an order finding violations or ordering fines or anything of that nature at this point. Should you come back in 60 days and nothing's been done, at that point, we would move in that direction. So the city is trying to accommodate you, and I think that the gesture is probably due to you taking the action and removing the tenants. And so just this one last step in bringing the property into compliance, fixing the windows and such, hopefully we won't have to meet again.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, so we will go back to old business, case number 12149.
I'm sorry, 12149 and 12148 were complied with. The next case should be 18575.
Okay, we will call up case number 18575.
The property in question had a fire, and that fire occurred back in 2019. The structure was open for a year and a half with no work done to it. The structure continues to deteriorate, and an order was in place as of June 13th, 2019. The owner was asked to remove the overgrown vegetation, the debris, the fire damaged structure. She was within 90 days of the 28th day of June 2019, obtained a permit for demolition of the structure and maintain the vegetation. None of that has occurred. A fine went into effect of $25 per day on the 91st day. What the city would like to have done is the city move forward with demolition if the owner does not do so in the next 30 days and start the process for the lien and foreclosure.
Ms. Jones, when was the last time you inspected the property?
It was inspected today, and the property is deteriorating, and the property is overgrown in some areas.
Has anything been done to the property?
No, nothing has been done. It's open and accessible where vagrants can enter. It's across from a very popular business, and they're asking that we do something to improve the conditions of the front of their building.
Have you had any personal communications with the owner, Ms. O'Neill?
No, she moved out before the fire and has not really been back. There's no utility account that's been active there prior to the fire. So it really looks like she's just abandoned the property prior to the fire. And this is also in our historical district of downtown Lake City.
Are you aware of anybody living at the property?
No, I'm not. This property was also place guarded for the dangerous structure uninhabitation.
I don't see the fire order. Oh, here it is. Is the motor vehicle still there?
The motor vehicle has been removed.
And what is the city seeking at this point?
If within 30 days the structure is not demolished by the owner, the city will go ahead and demolish it and seek a lien if the bill's not paid and move forward with the lien and foreclosure processing.
All right, that will be ordered. Thank you. You're welcome.
This should be our final case, 18348. And this should be under new business.
All right, we will call up case number 18348.
This case was created in 2018. The structure was in deplorable conditions, but the owner was trying to renovate it. And on the week of 4/15, the structure was engulfed in flames. The result was the fire caught fire and the structure itself was fully engulfed with only remnants of the structure remaining. On 4/22 is when I first went and saw it and noted the violations of the weeds, the windows, skylights, doors, stairs, and walking surfaces, 108, 110 for demolition and unsafe structures. The property owner has not answered the mail. The mail came back unclaimed. The property was posted. The structure was also placarded. You can see that there's not much left of the structure. The accessory structure was named in the original inspection. That had since been had been burned, so I don't know if a second fire occurred or not. But the property is to the point where it needs to be removed. The city is requesting that under the process that we go ahead and demolish it within 30 days if the owner does not do so, and bill the owner and start a fine of $25 per day. Until the property comes into compliance. I did re-inspect the property on 6/6 2018 and today as well.
And what did you find when you inspected the property?
There was no changes, it's just getting worse. This is from today. Because of the storm, parts of the structure were laying in the yard, or pieces of it. And the property is not secured where it has a good fence. So you see the sharp jagged metal that could be flying around and cement blocks that are broken.
Ms. Jones, have you had any personal contact with the owner?
None whatsoever. Everything comes back unclaimed.
And what about anybody living at the property?
No, there's no one there. The neighbors have said that no one is gathering either as well.
So you mentioned the fine. It seems as though the owner, if the city demolishes in 30 days, that the property will be, the violations will be cured on the city's accord, and then the cost of that demolition and any cleanup would then be a lien on the property. Why the additional fine?
30 days for the owner, starting today, the $25, and then after 30, if the owner does not comply, the city does it. But we can go with just no fine and the city do so in 30 days.
I mean, it seems that that would be consistent with the last case. I'd be comfortable with that.
Yes, ma'am. Sounds great to me.
Okay, so I will order demolition by the owner within 30 days. If that does not occur, then the city can demolish with any cost incurred by the city to be a lien on the property, which may be foreclosed upon.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Is there anything else?
No, ma'am.
Anything else, Mr. Young?
No, ma'am.
All right, well, that will conclude our hearing today.
Ms. Marchman, I'd like to introduce you to our 3 interns.